Thank you all for coming. I'm very happy to welcome Molly Weiner with Connected Nation and Melanie Downing with HRNA Advisors. And they are going to be sharing information on their work with the Texas Broadband Development Office and in identifying digital barriers faced by Texans.
Thanks, Sarah. We're excited to be here today. Like she said, my name's Molly Weiner. I'm the Director of Local and Regional Planning with Connected Nation. Connected Nation's a national nonprofit organization. We're really focused on the work to close the digital divide. We believe that everyone deserves access to a reliable internet connection and the skills to be able to use that internet connection in ways that benefit their life. So this work is really important and meaningful for us. We look at broadband as a holistic exercise, so looking not only at do you have a connection to your house, but do you have the skills, is it affordable to you, all of these things we've been discussing today. And so I'll let Melanie introduce herself really quickly. We're going to talk a little bit about what the last panel was alluding to, all these dollars that are coming to the state and what the state is doing to really hear from Texans across all parts of the state on what matters to them in terms of broadband access.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Molly said, my name is Melanie Downing with HRNA Advisors. We are leading the digital opportunity planning side of the Connect Texas team. HRNA is committed to bringing equitable resources to communities across the U.S. We have the great fortune of working with 8 states currently on their digital equity planning, and the very great fortune of working with the state of Texas. So I'll hand it back to Molly. We're going to go a little bit more into detail about what that process looks like here in Texas, and then we'll talk a little bit about some surveys and some other ways that you can participate in that process.
All right, we'll hop right into this. Oh, there we were. Our introduction. So yeah, Melanie and I are here to talk about this. Like she said, we represent the Connect Texas team. So it's a group of organizations that are working directly with the Texas Broadband Development Office through this planning process. We want to highlight a little bit of the planning process, but mostly spend our time talking about the ways to get involved specifically in this work. As a little bit of context setting, the Broadband Development Office is about 1.5 years, 2 years old here in the state. They were created last session, and they've been hard at work since they've got started really working to address the digital divide in Texas. And they are working currently on 2 programs, the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program, which was a part of the Infrastructure Act, and we're estimating that Texas is going to receive between $2 and $4 billion just for our state in terms of building out broadband infrastructure. And that's really building that connection to the homes of people that don't have access to the internet right now. And the other piece of that is the Texas Digital Opportunity Plan that Melanie mentioned, that there will be a planning process for that and an estimated amount, 100 million plus, to fund the types of initiatives that were discussed on this last panel: digital literacy skills and upskilling programs, device access, affordability programs, all of that work. And to do that, and to do it right, Texas is embarking on a really robust public engagement planning process. So we want to hear from people across the state about what the needs are, what the barriers are, and what's working. Where are there solutions in place that we can share, that we can learn from? And so we're going to talk through these different pieces of the model today and the different data collection tools. And just to provide that connection to the digital divide, we know that it's a really big deal. We've seen how interconnected we are, how often we rely on the internet for digital services. The numbers are pretty staggering across the country and in Texas. 42 million Americans estimated to be without access to reliable internet. They estimate, the Broadband Development Office in the state, that it's around 7 million people that don't have access or the ability to afford that connection to the internet. And we know what that connection can mean. Like we said, these 2 programs, they're coming, and we're in the planning phase. So we just really wanted to highlight this planning work. We're looking to collect research and data, to do outreach, to talk with communities, to really build out strong plans that represent the work on the ground here in the state. And what that means is that we need to hear from people in regions across the state. The office is looking for full geographic coverage, right? We know that West Texas is different than the Panhandle, is different than the needs of El Paso. So we want to hear what those differences in regional needs are. We know that we've got to talk to diverse stakeholder groups. There are specific populations, many of which are served in libraries, that we will be interacting with. These covered populations, so we're talking seniors, individuals at or below the poverty line, individuals with disabilities, residents that live in rural areas. These are all specific focuses of this engagement work. We know those are the folks most likely to be disconnected, and so we want to ensure our plan is inclusive of the needs of all of these covered populations. And this work together will inform 2 big plans that will come out by the end of this year. There'll be a 5-year action plan, kind of on the infrastructure side of things, and then there'll be the Texas Digital Opportunity Plan, which is going to really address a lot of those adoption and use challenges. And this is just a very full slide of kind of what is to come, but really we put this up there just to highlight that this work is happening now. Our call to action is that we want to start hearing from communities, understanding what's happening, and that this work is happening quickly, because we know that every day that people aren't connected to the internet is another day when people are wanting that access. So we're working through this planning process as quickly as you can do this, but also in a comprehensive way. So next few months, April, May, June, July, really critical to the work of engaging with the public and understanding the needs across the state. And so I'll highlight a few of these pieces. Libraries are involved throughout this public engagement model. They're highlighted in several key components. There is a statewide working group, and that statewide working group is meeting kind of in an advisory capacity with the Broadband Development Office. It's made up of a lot of folks from state agencies who kind of have that comprehensive view, whether it's the Workforce Commission, and they represent, workforce development, the adult education programs, Texas Education Agency, different folks that represent parts of the digital divide. We've also got a set of task forces. So looking at some specific outcome areas, how does having access to broadband affect economic workforce development? How does it affect education, health, our civic and social engagement? All key components of understanding the digital divide in several places, especially the education, civic, and social engagement, where library involvement is critical. And then finally, we've got our regional working groups, and that's where we're really going to hit the geography of the state. Standing up 12 groups. You can see this map here. Those are the comptroller's economic regions, so it makes a nice, easy way to kind of get a regional perspective from the different parts of our state. And we'll be building local teams looking to really understand what's happening on the ground and to start having conversations with people, having public meetings in locations, places like libraries, senior centers, those types of community anchor institutions that we know are really important, and to really understand from folks what the needs are on the ground. So I'm gonna let Mel talk through a few of our data collection strategies as well that kind of complement that work.
So as Molly mentioned, and as you saw on the timeline, we're trying to fit a lot of engagement into a short amount of time. We've got about 3 months, give or take, to really connect with communities, to connect with the folks who are doing work in the space already, who are interested in doing work in the space, and then of course with Texas residents across the state and across those 12 regions that Molly just mentioned. To do that, I have the great honor of announcing that our surveys have now gone live. We have 2 different surveys. Thank you, thank you. We're very excited about it. We have 2 different surveys, the first of which is the Digital Resources Mapping Tool Survey, and this is an organizational survey. So this is something that you, especially as libraries with programs like digital navigators, device programs, even computer labs, anything that you're doing in communities about digital literacy, we want to hear about it through this tool. And it is live now. We'd like for each of you to take it, and actually in a few minutes here, we'll have a QR code up on the screen, so you can even do it while you're here today from your mobile phone. It is mobile friendly. We also have a public survey that just went live, and this is for every resident over the age of 18 in the state of Texas, although we are limiting that to 1 response per household. We'll also have a QR code for that. However, we would ask that you just take that from your residence because there is a speed test involved and we want to collect speed test data from your actual location rather than from the convention center today. That survey is available across 4 languages. It's in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, and Chinese. We also do have paper versions of the survey available for folks who do not have access to online resources. In addition, because we're trying to reach so many different communities in such a small amount of time, it's really important that we get help from those communities. And specifically, this is why we're here speaking with you today, because not only do we want you to fill out these surveys, but of course, because you're entrenched in these communities, we would love for you to help us get the word out. There's a toolkit that's available on the Comptroller's website, and I'll put a link up for that website here in a moment. This has several different resources in it for local folks to put the word out about both of these surveys. This one specifically is for the public survey. There are 5 different things contained here, including a press release, some social media copy, some local articles that can be published in newspapers or newsletters, however you're engaging with your community. If you have other folks in the community who the libraries have close ties with, as I'm sure all of you do, we'd also ask that you have them put this out to their networks. The larger the audience for this, we can maximize the spread and get as much data as possible from the state in the short amount of time that we have. Same thing goes for the DRMT survey, and again, this is the organizational survey. There is a toolkit for this one as well. The Digital Resources Mapping Tool Pre-Read, which you see up on the screen here today, gives just a bit of background about the tool and a PDF version of it so folks can see actually what they're getting into before they take the tool. We also have an invitation letter available, so if you have other organizations who you know should take this survey, we invite you to send them an email, to put it out on your social media, however it works best to get it out to your network. We would very much appreciate your support in that. And if you're wondering, should organizations fill this out if they're not directly involved with what we consider digital literacy traditionally, the answer is, well, yes. You know, as we just heard from Michelle, organizations like Tyson have digital literacy initiatives going on, not something that we would have guessed or known about. But obviously, you know, they're doing a lot in the space, it sounds like, with a lot of partnership. And so we definitely want to hear about initiatives like that, even if it's from non-traditional sources that are putting in these programs. In addition to the surveys, like Molly mentioned, we also do have the working groups, and these are starting to roll out within a few weeks here across all of the 12 regions. They're going to be helping with get the word out about the 2 surveys, but also collecting data at the local level, holding organizational meetings with the communities, and also just providing regional expertise across the state. So there is a contact form linked here. Maybe we can get this on the app for you as well, so that you have that information and you can start attending those regional working groups. And so, Jennifer did a great job of emphasizing the call to action today and the fact that we do have this federal funding coming and we really need your support. So just a quick list of the next steps that we'd like to ask you to partake in with us: completing the DRMT survey, completing the public survey yourselves, but then also getting the word out using these tools, sharing on your websites, sharing on social media, and of course, having them available in your library branches as well, and participating in the local planning events that are going to be coming your way here soon. Well, here are the promised QR codes. Again, the DRMT survey is the one we'd like you to focus on today for your organization. It only takes about 10 to 15 minutes to fill out. And Molly and I are going to be here for a few minutes, so if anybody has any questions or has any issues with filling out the survey, please feel free to come and tap us, and we'll make sure we get it completed. Thank you.